Hi, hopefully by now you've seen parts 1 and parts 2 of this video about the spawning that's taking place, hopeful spawning that's taking place behind me. It's now about 3:45 on Tuesday the 14th, so not sure I'm a whole lot further forward. No, that's not true. I feel a whole lot further forward than I did certainly this morning, but no further forward than I had felt yesterday afternoon. We're at this stage. So obviously now the Fuji fish, which whether it's male or not I don't know, whether it's female I still don't 100% know. If you've seen the video of it on the quick part 2 that I published, I think you'll agree that from the outside, on the surface, very much looks like a male fish. Those big pectoral fins, slim body, all sort of characteristics of males, but not a single sign in terms of the video of the oboshi or any sperm inside it. So that fish is gone. Still waiting to go back to the main pond. It's so warm outside at the moment. The temporary pond it's in is certainly not showing any sign of cooling down until later this evening, in which case it will go back into the main pond. So now, as I left, I think in the last video, the tank was topping up, having been dropped down a little bit with a spray of water across it. That spray's now filled it up and just continues spraying some cooler water onto the tank. The tank's temperature, just ambient, normal temperature in this heat outside, is about 20.4 degrees. So even with the cooler water being sprayed on it, it's still warming up. So hopefully once the sun sort of drops and the sun starts shining through, really very, very hot here on my right hand side. As I did yesterday, we'll do that until about 8 o'clock this evening. Then once it starts to drop down a bit, the temperature's due to drop down a lot this evening. So that cool spray of water across the surface hopefully will be the trigger that they need. But I'm very optimistic with the signs behind me. Although funnily enough, my mum's just watched part 2 of the video and she says, you stayed optimistic all the way through. So I did say that. So I'm looking now and seeing lots of exciting signs in the fish behind me. I'm very, very sure that they'll be spawning not too far into the night this evening, but well, if they do, you'll know as well as I know too, certainly posting about it. So thanks for all the interest of people that have been following this video, and I hope it becomes more exciting than it is and we actually have some eggs, some fry and some baby Benikikakuri in the not too distant future. It's now 5:30, as you can probably make out. Shadows starting to creep across the tank and the spawning net. Still a long while until it gets dark, but there's some shade where it's been in fairly full sun all afternoon. You notice I've turned the spray off for now. It's been on for several hours. Adding some fresh water as it went. So we'll now leave them be for now. And it's just a waiting game if I need to. If I feel there's any value, I can turn that spray back on later. You see they stay in fairly close proximity to one another. Showing the video a little bit earlier, female and the male both mouthing at the spawning brushes very regularly. So for me, really just a time of waiting, hoping that at some point during the course of the evening they decide that it's time to start spawning properly. Good to see her getting fully involved with the spawning brushes. So once she starts spawning properly, that whole process, whole action will be a whole lot more vigorous than that was. Well, it's just gone 8 o'clock, and if this time yesterday I was brimful of confidence, I'm starting to doubt my confidence this evening. I don't know why. I come in the courthouse and they're just kind of a little bit lackluster with each other, to be honest. They're sniffing around a little bit, but not as much as I'd have hoped at this time of the evening. Or anticipated, so we'll see. It'll be dark in another hour or so, and maybe that will be the time when something starts to happen. Or maybe I've got an all-night wait again, as did yesterday. That's koi breeding. Time will tell what will happen. So it's 9 o'clock. Final bit of light left in the sky overhead. Soon the koi house will be in darkness again. After my last little clip, and I was feeling a little bit despondent, I was just taking some photographs as the sun was shining through the edge of the koi house wall with the last sunshine as it dipped below the buildings again. And the female come across the top of the spawning ropes and was duly pushed out of the water with the male pursuing her. The first time I've seen that, which is a great sign, and I kind of picked my slightly flagging enthusiasm, flagging excitement, picked that up a little bit. So they continue to, they're swimming around behind me, nudging each other a little bit, so we'll see. Well, it's just coming up to 1 o'clock, and this really rather strange dynamic going on in the tank behind me. The female seems to be making more of the running than the male is at the moment. Very much evident that she's encouraging the male to sort of, if you're going to do what you're supposed to do, get on with it. So I suppose that's possibly a good sign. At least something's happening. She's definitely chasing him, and he chases back a little bit. So they're chasing around, but it's not as though spawning's about to take place any minute, I don't think. So just a case of continuing to wait and see. Well, it's 3:15, and really there's very little scenery going on in the tank behind me. Certainly not spawning, certainly not full-on spawning anyway. No spawning, and certainly not full-on sign that they're starting to spawn or about to spawn. I'll just put the spray back on as a final sort of try and nudge them into action. They're still chasing around a little bit, but it's not enough to make the female want to maybe convince her that it's time to release her eggs. So that's where we're at the moment. I'm feeling knackered and a little disappointed, to say the least. So as he was yesterday, he's kind of time to start thinking about, well, what next? I had a conversation with, as you mentioned, Dave Baker in the previous video. He mentioned just yesterday something that I also thought of, which was finding another male of whatever variety in the main pond, with male chago in there, putting those in there, or one of those in there to start with, and see if that'll spur the young boy on and spur the female into releasing her eggs. Then remove that fish and just leave the two Benikiki Kuryu to get on with it. Otherwise it's stopped the whole process at the moment and source another male of some description from somewhere. I had a little scout around a few websites, I've got to be honest, looking what people have got available. Anyway, it's very difficult. Whatever I put in there, I really don't want to step back from where we were. Alternatively, I mean, I know the male is certainly gave every indication of being ready to breed. He tried to breed himself a few weeks ago and chased the females around. So maybe it's time to change the female. There's not the female had in there, the Afuchi female. There's two Aoki fish we've got, both of which I'd be very happy to use as a parent. Smaller females, perhaps more compatible with the small male. So time to think maybe that. Forget this spawning, take this female out, reset up and try something else with one of those other females. But that's where I'm at. I'm thinking of going and putting my head down in bed for a couple of hours, at which time it will be daylight, or light will start to be rising, and maybe that's going to be the time when something, if anything, happens. But there we are. Good morning. Well, this morning, 5:30 in the morning, and I've got to be honest, I don't think these fish have ever looked any further from about to be spawning than they do right now. Almost zero interest in one another as I stand here watching them, just hanging around both of them for whatever reason. So as you can probably guess or tell, I'm a little bit disappointed, tired and disappointed. So I think for me it's going to go and lay down in the bed for a couple of hours, leave these to it, come back, have a think and decide what to do. And can't see any real point in pursuing it with these two fish for another night. So whether I decide to I'll pull the male out and check him, see what I can see, and then make a decision as to what I do. I don't know whether he's just completely overwhelmed by the whole thing on his own, whether another male's needed to go in the mix, I don't really know, but I'll make that decision later today as to what I do. It's 9:30 now in the morning, and all action seemed to have ceased as far as the two that were in the net was concerned. So spent some time mulling around the ideas of what I could do, whether I was going to swap the female out for a different female. As I mentioned earlier in the video last night, one of the ideas that had been knocking around in my head and was mentioned by Dave Baker was adding another male to the pond. Just as a Kickstarter, something I've seen done in Japan many times. Other males put into the net just to get things going before the proper parents spawn. And then a guy called Matt Shields, another guy who breeds koi here in the UK, also just suggested on Facebook the add another male to the mix. So that's the idea I've gone with. The male that's been added is a fairly old Chagoi. It was bred interestingly here in the UK by Maurice Cox, the late Maurice Cox, one of the guys who pioneered or tried to pioneer koi breeding here in the Koi UK down in Somerset. Unfortunately died, I think it was last year, maybe the year before now, I lose track of time. So there's two of them in the pond here, in the outdoor pond. I've been in the outdoor pond a long while, but just Mum tells me that every year when the koi spawn, there's only 3 or 4 koi that have been in there, but for a number of years. But the two Chagoi are the protagonist males, who are the ringleaders at spawning. So just pulled them both out, checked them. Both have got very rough gills, very rough pectoral fins. One of them had sperm coming out very freely, so that's the one we've gone with. So he's in the net now behind me, and hopefully he'll show the young lad in there the way to go and encourage the female to get going earlier. And once they start, I'll move that male out I'll probably just move into the other side of the net so he stays in there. Again, that's a trick I've seen. I think it was Terrazzo I saw do that many years ago, and had males the other side of the net of what was going to be a natural spawning, and they were there just to encourage things along and keep things flowing. So that's the hope, that's the plan. That will conclude this little clip of the video. So video the next 24 or the last 24 hours, and then hopefully by the time you get part 4, we'll have some eggs in this net behind me.